So we'll begin then. Welcome, you guys. You guys are basically going to make up the Young Guard. Okay, you are the only intake we're going to have for a while now. The next one will probably be in, probably a couple months' time, maybe sooner. Depends how many of you even last. What I'm going to do and sort of what I'm going to speak about is I'm going to go over your conduct, your values, and just sort of like what your role is, and then explain a bit about the Guard, the organization, and then we'll call it there. It shouldn't take too long, but it's important that you guys pay attention and actually take in what I say. If you have any questions, you'll most likely want to just DM your sponsors, but obviously when I introduce them to you, your commanders, you can go to them, of course, as well. Cool. So the first thing we're going to go over is the conduct. Okay, this is very important. It will be in a channel. I'm going to post it straight after this, but for now, just listen. Actually, you know what, we'll do the briefing first. Okay, so the briefing essentially is just your role, why you're here, what you're gonna have to do to get to the middle guard, etc. This is very important you sort of understand this part. Okay, so if you need to take notes or record it or whatever, do so. Awesome. So first one is your place in the Young Guard is entirely conditional. You are not really technically guards yet. You have a lot to prove. Your one job should really just be getting to the middle guard and just sort of, you're pretty much on thin ice constantly. Okay, you should constantly be attending events, constantly be trying. Otherwise, you're probably just going to get removed very, very quickly, and that'll sort of end there. So that's just, your place here is conditional only. You're not really a guard yet. The second part is, your one role now is to earn your place. Okay, that is the one job you have, the one responsibility you have is to just earn your place inside the middle guard. There is no route to get staff unless you get into the middle guard. The only way you can become a staff member is by joining the middle guard, so that should be your one job. There is no exceptions to this. So every single one of you has to get from Soldat to Soldat to Premier and drafted within like 6 weeks from now. Because in 6 weeks time will likely be when we open the old guard and then also draft the middle guard. So you have about 6 weeks to prove yourselves. Those of you that don't prove yourselves and get to Soldat to Premier and don't get drafted the first time around will likely be demoted again and just told to do it again. But we can get more into that in the future. The second part, apart from earning your place, is you are competing with your peers. Okay, so we aren't going to need to draft, say, all of you here into the middle guard, and we're not going to. I think about 6 weeks time, if all goes well, maybe 40 of you will be drafted, and there is definitely more than 40 of you here right now. Both companies are more than 40 people. So essentially, all of this is a competition. You are competing with the people next to you, and it's important you realize that. Okay, if you don't contribute and they contribute, you'll get removed, and that'll be a massive waste of your time. So I would just avoid that. Okay, and then the last one is, once you're gone, you're gone. So exiles, for the most part, every exile you have will be permanent from now on, depending on what you do, of course. But for the majority of you, if you get removed, you likely won't be asked to rejoin or considered to rejoin in future intakes, because as the guard progresses, standards will raise and raise and raise. So that's sort of like how that works. Once you're gone, you're gone. Okay, that's sort of that. Next, we're going to go on to the conduct part. Now, this is sort of like your guidelines, your basic rules. All of these rules, if you fail to do these, would be like exilable offences, you could say. These are like our main rules. So you need to understand these. So the first one is quite obvious. It's speaking in game is prohibited. You all know this. It's how it is. Guard has always been like this. You cannot talk in game at all. This only applies when you're in guard uniform. Okay, if you are out of guard uniform, you can speak in game. Doesn't matter. But as long as you're in, if you're wearing guard uniform in any game, doesn't matter if you're in Barrow, Waterloo, fucking some Starbucks coffee place. It doesn't matter. If you're in guard uniform, you don't talk. You represent the guard when you're wearing it. Yeah. Your one job, upkeep our reputation. You must do this when inside the guard Discord and outside of it. Although when inside, you're pretty much fine to do whatever. But in external Discords like France or say Britain, if you have the guard eagle next to your name, or you have any sort of identification that you're a guard, and keep in mind when you get into the middle guard, majority of people will just know you're a guard, and you need to represent us properly. Because if not, I'll get DMs like I did earlier from guards who sent, we exiled I think 2 people earlier doing the same thing, which was just random French officers DMing me being like, is this a young guard? and just snitching on them basically. And that happens all the time. So if you send weird videos in French General, you'll get caught out for it and you'll be removed, like the other two. Okay, that's how that works. All guardsmen must log off in attire. This is sort of like a future rule because we're obviously going to give you funds for the uniform. But you must also log off in attire. So make sure when you log off your character, you log off with like nothing on, no faces, that sort of thing. Guard events take priority. This is another very important rule. Your events that are hosted for you, essentially you're going to have like 2 mandatory events a day. Attendance will work like this as well. It's like you'll only ever be marked attending for like the 2 events, which are either at 4 p.m. EST or 6 p.m. HKT. So obviously there's an event, a mandatory event for the Asian time zones as well. You can attend either one of these, but if you attend neither, you're not going to get a good like attendance record, and then you'll just be removed. You must attend one of these. All other events that are hosted are non-mandatory, and like the only incentive to come will be it works towards a leaderboard, which is a system I'll explain later on. But guard events take priority ahead of every other like group you're in. I'll go over in a second and explain the group policy, but guard events, they do take priority. If you are doing stuff, you are busy, that is fine. Tell an officer, they'll be fine with it. You're not expected to attend every single event. You're expected to attend the majority of events, and that's about it. But you must like prioritize the guard ahead of any other group you're in. Yeah. So in terms of other nations, we've recently put a rule in place that you are not allowed to be in another nation except from France. The Guard has enough events a day now because of Bureau, because of the amount of events we're hosting that are non-mandatory and just fun in general, is you do not need to be in another nation. So if you have other commitments in another nation like BA or Austria, it's unlikely that you'll be able to continue here unless you figure that out. So you guys will have until sort of the end of this event to figure that out. Might even give you until say tomorrow to figure that out. But we don't want people in Guard in like 5 other nations. Okay. So if you think you can't meet that, then you can go ahead and leave the game, and that's okay. Don't worry about it. I don't mind. But that's a rule. It's important. Okay. So that is basically your conduct, right? That is all really, what matters there. Okay. These are your main guidelines. You have to follow these. As long as you do, you'll be fine. Another conduct rule is pretty much just common sense, which you all must have anyway. That's good. Next, I'm going to go into your values, and these are just sort of like, they're just values, things you just want to uphold if you want to get anywhere in the Guard. This sort of just helps to just know. You got independence, which is, just acting independently, using your brain. We put a lot of responsibility on the middle Guard now. As you've probably noticed, they've rolled you all, they've changed your nicknames themselves, they've introduced you to the Guard, invited you to the Guard. The same thing will happen to you when you guys join the middle Guard. You're given a lot of responsibility and independence, and you're expected to sort of just fall into that quite easily. Initiative, same thing, relating to the same thing I said before, is all Guards are leaders. You should be able to step up and take initiative. You should be able to step up and sort of adapt to whatever situation you're put in. Most of our events, non-mandatory events especially, allow for rankers to step up and just take lead. So you won't always be led by your officers. You'll have time to just sort of show off in a way that you can lead. You'll have plenty of opportunities for this. So initiative is valued completely. Commitment. The commitment one is quite simple. We are your commitment, and you are ours. So as long as you put us above other groups and you just attend our events, we'll do whatever we can to make this group as fun as possible for you, because that is realistically what it's all about. Ambition. You must all have goals. You're not going to get anywhere if you don't. So I imagine all of you here probably just want to get to Old Guard or want to become an officer of some sort. If you don't have goals and you sort of hear like, I just want to sort of be here, then you might find this a bit boring. So I suggest you sort of like, find some goals, figure out what you want to do in the long term. And then the last one is adaptability. Make sure you can adapt to situations. Make sure you can, if you're asked to lead, you can adapt to that. If you're asked to, skirmish in a certain position, you're able to do that. Adaptability is very important and relates to initiative and independence. Okay, so things like microphones, they're encouraged. They're not required, but you're encouraged to get a microphone in order to socialize and to be able to take initiative in events and all that kind of thing. Just out of curiosity, can you just jump if you have a microphone? Middle Guard, not you guys. I know who does. Are you guys? Okay, if you guys young guy, just stop jumping. Can you Young Guard jump if you like are comfortable speaking. Good. Well, that's a majority of you, so that's good. Not many Grenadiers, surprisingly, but that's good. So you know, the Guard is a very, very like communal atmosphere. We want you guys to just socialize, have fun, that sort of thing. In most events, you'll be unmuted and just asked to talk, asked to like speak and all that sort of thing. So just make sure you guys are doing that. Okay. Cool. So those are your values. If any of you here don't think you can meet those values, don't think you can abide by the conduct, or think this isn't for me, you can go ahead and leave now, and then that's it. There's no problems there. I'd rather not have to like remove you in say a week's time while you for an activity or something because you just got bored. Like if you don't want to do this, then you can. Here's short of your opportunity to just opt out, and no harm will come to you or your sponsor. Anyone want to go? Okay, cool. So we'll move on then. So down to your structure then. So essentially, as explained earlier briefly, you guys are split into two corps. Okay, they're commanded by a general of division. You got Orpios, who commands the Chasseur Corps, and then you have Andrew or Sully, who commands the Grenadier Corps. And then right here you have the three like ordnance officers. They're like headquarters staff. Okay, they're basically general staff. So you are split, and you're either a Grenadier or a Chasseur, and it entirely depended on what your sponsor is. Okay, they're sort of like your big brother or sister in a way. So our battles in future, when we get an old guard and the young guard and the middle guard, will be able to fight in those corps. For now, it's sort of we're still doing it by echelon, but that's sort of how the guard has changed structurally. Your echelon is now more of a status thing, it's more of a rank thing than an organization thing. Okay, you guys can use your echelon as just a way to identify how long you've sort of been in the guard and what you progressed to, but your actual fighting combat units will likely come from your corps, which will be your Chasseur or Grenadier Corps. So young guard, just jump if you understand that. Okay, cool. So that's the core system. What I'd like you to do real quick is go to general information. I'm going to at you all in the right channel here. It's called cycles. Okay, cool. So go ahead and go to that channel. So yeah, just react. You can react to a bunch of emojis, whatever. So time inside the guard is sort of like done differently. We have things called cycles and half cycles. Okay, the way this works is a full cycle here then is 4 weeks in length and marks certain like traditions, certain things like, for example, every 4 weeks we'll have Moyen Guard intakes, every 4 weeks we'll have promotions for the middle guard, and also the triumphs, which will be explained in a bit. And then we also have a half cycle, which is 2 weeks in length, and it marks the young guard promotions, young guard intakes, and don't react to fucking fuck, Jesus Christ, right, okay. I need to turn off reactions there. But the half cycle also marks the closure of each regiment's leaderboard. We aren't gonna do intakes every half cycle. Like we intook this half cycle, but we probably won't take anyone in for a while because of the amount of you we have. Just keep that in mind. Cool. Can one of you, attack major, remove all the reactions to the actual things and turn them off, please? Thank you. Yeah, so another thing you guys will have is leaderboards. I'll explain that in a bit, but essentially at every non-mandatory event or every event that isn't an external event, you guys will have to like sort of count your kills to a leaderboard, and then the leaderboard will determine who is a sapper, etc. So what I'd like you to do in a second here, I'm going to add you all in a channel. Okay. So if you look in your leaderboard channel, it's either a Grenadier shouts or a Chasseur shouts. That's not the leaderboard channel, but that's it right there. That is your leaderboard. It will go in the leaderboard channel right there. Essentially, your kills at all events will be counted towards a leaderboard. Any event but external ones that are against other, like the opposition or enemies or whatever, your kills will count. They will be reset every half cycle. So every 2 weeks, your leaderboard will be reset, and the top 3 of each regiment and time zone will be made sappers. Okay, so for example, you have the this is like the Young Guard sapper. We'll also have the Young Guard Chasseur sapper soon. So that happens, and then you also have like the Middle Guard sappers. Find them. Hold on. which looks like this. So this is the middle guard sapper. For the Fusilier Grenadiers, the chasseurs will have one for you soon as well, don't worry about it. But yeah, so every 2 weeks, new sappers will essentially be chosen. Okay, so it's a rotation thing, and it pretty much comes entirely down to if you're a killer or not. Okay, because you guys are young guard and because you guys are operating on a conditional basis, you guys every 2 weeks the bottom 3 of your leaderboards will be removed purely because we don't really want people to bottom frag, and we want to encourage people to do their best to get higher up on the leaderboard. So every 2 weeks you remove people. The bottom 3 will be removed from the young guard, and then the top 3 will obviously will continue on. Things like flag bearing and stuff, we do have like exceptions for this in terms of like how many kills we add on. We're not going to leave you completely in the dark, so don't worry about that. If you're like a dedicated flag bearer, you'll be fine. But yeah, so jump if that makes sense to you. Jump if that makes sense to you all. Okay, good. So what I'd like to do now then real quick is I would like to introduce you to your new commanders. Okay, and we'll begin with the Tyrolo Grenadiers. Okay, and this also may come as a surprise to the middle guard because you don't know this yet. So, Austin W. Cooper, can you come up, please? Awesome. And I'll give you your uniform. So you all know Austin W. Cooper. Some of you here will know it. Some of you, all the middle guard will. Austin is going to take command of the young guard Tyrolo Grenadiers at the rank of lieutenant. Let me find the uniform. Cool, you got it. So, Austin will take command of the Tyrolo Grenadiers at rank of lieutenant, and this will be across both time zones. So there isn't like a separate commander for each time zone. Austin commands both time zones, EU and Asia. Okay, and then he also has a adjutant major, a Sioux lieutenant from the Asian time zone, which is Spook if he's here. Yeah, you come over here, Spook. Cool. I thought you'd be asleep, but it's alright. Oh. Cool. So Spook here is the adjutant major for the Tyrolo Grenadiers. He is the the Asian representative and will host the Asian events. So if any of you here for some reason are Asian, he's probably the person who can see a lot more of. And then you have Marvelotto, come forward. Marvelotto is going to be the adjutant Sioux officer of the NAU sphere of the Tyrolo Grenadiers. Some of you may know him, of course. And then I'm pretty sure it's Skelebobs, but I'm pretty sure he's offline. Or it might not be Skelebobs. I don't know what his name is. But there is another Asian representative. They've all changed their names, unfortunately. Oh, Nazareth, yes. So you come over here then, wherever you are. Cool. You already have a uniform, that's perfect. So, these right here, Tyrolo Grenadiers, are your staff members. Okay? All of these lot will take care of you in terms of your unit, your regiment. And these aren't companies, by the way, they're regiments. Keswick, you pay attention to this. They're definitely not companies. You guys are organized into regiments. So, these guys right here are your regiment staff. And that's how that works. So then, the Tyrolo Grenadiers, or Tyrolo Chasseurs, sorry, we have Eden and Victus, you come forward. Will be the lieutenant of the Tyrolo Chasseurs, who is former Old Guard officer. Perfect. And then for the adjutant major, they have Ace Enfield, who I'm pretty sure is asleep right now because of his time zone, of course. He's Asian warrior. Then we've got Aod Lasvari. Come forward, my friend. Aod Lasvari is the adjutant Sioux officer, and then another adjutant we have for the Asian time zone is Society 2, but I'm pretty sure he is also asleep, right? Yes, he is. Okay, good. So, this right here then is your staff team. Okay, these guys will essentially look after you if you have any questions. They'll host your events. They'll lead you in battles. And these guys are the guys, if you have any of your like regiment questions, so you can go to them and ask. If you have like combat questions, you need help, getting better at the game, you want to become cracked, you DM your sponsors and they'll help you. Okay. For the most part, you can DM your sponsors questions as well. If you think, oh, this officer might just remove me for it. Like if you have like, I don't know, a question that, you don't really want to ask an officer or a general or me, you can ask your sponsor because they're probably going to try to help you because the whole aim is to make sure you guys don't get removed for them. So they'll do their best to help you. Okay, it's sort of their job. So if you have any questions you want to ask them, then go ahead and do it like a question you wouldn't ask an officer, say. Cool. So that right there is your staff team. Okay. People who are in the council chat, just quickly check it and just read it. And I'll just read a few DMs. Okay. As far as I'm aware, I haven't forgotten anything, but I'll figure that out in a second. Okay. I'm pretty sure that for the most part is all you guys need to know. Trying to think. Pretty sure we're all good. You guys know about your leaderboard, know about your events. Okay, cool. Yeah, you know what, Speak, you can come do that again. You can come explain to them the hats. You did it earlier. You can do it now.
Hello. Okay. So, Garde, as you may have heard from Asagas, is quite strict when it comes to regulations, and when it comes to uniform and what you're wearing, you also have regulations. So I'll be teaching you, so I wear a similar uniform to you guys. I'll give myself this. So, unequip your musket real quick. So you're going to spawn in your game, and you're going to come out in this uniform, or the chasseur one, same thing really. You got to go into standard attire. So all of you take off your hats. Standard attire is when you take off your cords. So when you enter a game and you're not really doing anything, when you go to public barrow or something, this is what you're supposed to be wearing all the time. Did you understand that? Jump if yeah. Good. Next thing. Let's say you're going to go into a battle, or you're going to go start fighting people. You got to get into combat attire, where you take off your plume. The chasseurs, you can't take off your pom-pom, that's okay. Same thing. For the grenadiers, if you have a plume, yeah, take it off. So this is how we always look when we go into combat, etc. Next thing, let's say Gory is in game, right? Then you'll always have your cords. Whether you're in standard attire, combat attire, as long as Gory is in game, you'll always have your cords on. But for the most part, keep it off. Lastly, is in parade attire, or inspection attire, whatever you call it. That is when you have your cords on, your plume on, and your chin strap up, and your backpack dropped. So press B and drop it. So right now we're having a parade and inspection, so that's what you all should be wearing. So I better see all of you with your cords on, your plume on, your chin strap up, and your backpack off. Now, if you all understand that, Good. If you have any questions, DM your sponsor or your officers. And that's all. You all should be in the parade attire. You may ground arms again. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Good job done. For the most part, that's everything we need to do. Before I, send people away here, Fusilish Search, you will have another job in a second. You guys will have to hold tight. But Young Guard and Middle Guard, you must listen close. So tomorrow we're going to have another inspection. Reason being, we are going to be picking the sergeants for each regiment, including Young Guard sergeants, and then also Middle Guard, your sappers will be selected as well. Okay, so there'll be an inspection for both, all of us right here. We'll come to this tomorrow, and there'll be another sort of inspection, and then on Monday we begin the second half cycle. But for Young Guard here, it's sort of the first half cycle, so we'll figure that out. But Young Guard then, Young Guard only. All of you right face. Awesome. Now, Young Guard, what I'd like you to do then is you're going to walk to the edge here, to this one block here, and when you reach it, make sure you're on shoulder arms. Oh, you don't have to reach it yet. I didn't say go. There you go. And when you reach it, you're just going to jump and leave. Okay? Go ahead and do that, Young Guard. Off you go. And Middle Guard, you can make ready. You can give him a sender. Cool. Remember, Young Guard, any questions, you can DM me, you can DM your sponsors, you can DM your officers, do whatever. But you know, don't DM them and be like, "Can you please accept me in the guard group?" Because we're doing that. I promise you. Okay, Fusilier chasseurs, and this is Fusilier chasseurs only. Turn to the right. You guys can hold because you're staying. I think. Actually, no. You guys can Santa Fe. So I got a wrong regiment. You guys are staying. OPS wants to speak to you. Fusilier grenadiers, unless you want to speak to them, Andrew.
Nothing needs to be said to them. They can be dismissed.
Okay, cool. In that case, then Fusilier grenadiers, right face, all of you.
Chasseurs, hit Des Moines, Buster.
And then you, Fusilier grenadiers, you can walk off the edge here. And when you reach this block, you can leave the game. Off you go. Fusilier grenadiers, anyway. Awesome. Command members, including Young Guard staff, all of you, please go to command, and we'll get doing the logistics of this all.